I know Mark and I share this sentiment that every single show that we've seen, every single film that we've seen up to this point doesn't do it justice. They just don't do a good job. There's the hacker is usually a guy in a corner who's typing fast, who's just giving up plot information, and there's 3D, there's 3D graphics on the screen, and it's not grounded in any kind of reality. So that was really a motivation going into this, that we wanted to do this the right way and really make it authentic.
And one of the big things about the show for us is we want to engage the community. So, A, we are hackers ourselves, and we don't like watching stuff on TV that you see stuff on CSI Cyber where they plug something into a car and it takes over the car. That's not real. We want to show the real stuff, and we want to inspire people to do the real things. And we also hide things in the show. Kor can tell you a little bit more about that.
So we're really big on hiding Easter eggs all over the show. In season 1 and even more so in season 2, whenever you see an IP address or whenever you see a URL or a host name, if you try accessing those computers, those systems, it will lead you somewhere. And there will be a code there or a hint that will lead you down a rabbit hole, and there is a bit of a prize at the end of it. We did a little bit of this with our first trailer that we released for season 2. So I urge all of you who are watching the show to keep an eye on the screen, keep an eye on the signs, on even pieces of paper, anything that could resemble an IP address or a URL. Put it into your browser, see where it leads you, because it's a great Easter egg hunt that we put a lot of time and effort into, and I think a lot of people are getting a huge kick on it.
And let's face it, how many shows out there can you actually hack? This is a show you can hack. You will find stuff in there that will lead you to prizes. There are adventures in there that you can go in and decode computers and find hidden things. And if you get all the way to the end, you'll get prizes. So it's kind of cool.
So another thing I just want to make clear is the way a television show operates is you have a writer's room, which is just a room of like 8 or 9 writers locked in with each other, pitching ideas and discussing story for 6 months. And that's how the scripts are written normally. That's how the story is figured out and outlined. On Mr.ROBOT, we have that, but at the same time, Mark and I are part of a team which is purely technical. So I spend my days in the writer's room with the other writers of Mr.ROBOT, and I spend my nights bothering these guys. And we have our own technical hacking writer's room that's operating in tandem, where we're pitching ideas back and forth and trying to come up with realistic hacking scenarios and authentic ways of portraying the technology that suits the story. So every single hack you see on the show is rooted in that authenticity and feasible in the real world. It's not some ridiculous thing that's done for dramatic effect. It's all realistic.
And so the way some of us experts do this to help Kor is when we have a hack to work through, in many cases we'll actually do it. We'll build the hack in our house, set it up, stage it, make it look like we want it to look in the show, put in the right writing, the right names, and then we'll run through it and film it. And so those hacks that you're seeing on TV have actually been done and they're real. Once we film that hack, it gets sent to Kor. Kor then gets an animator to make a flash animation. And so what the actors are actually working on is an animation that is actually the hack that we did. So you are watching a real hack actually happen, unlike some kind of fake thing with a prop on other shows.
So what's cool about that is we create this flash animation, and it's like itself is like an interactive game where you can type anything you want on the keyboard and the right characters will appear on the animation. So everything on screen is resembling the original hack that Mark did or that I did or another member of the team did while testing out the real version. So there's a whole revision process that goes through with the flash animation to make sure that it doesn't have any typos, and the timing of the commands and the responses that show up on screen are all accurate. And this way I can take an actor on Mr.ROBOT like Christian Slater or Rami Malek, and I can sit them in front of a computer with the animation loaded, and they can type whatever they want, and as long as they're typing at the right speed, the right content shows up on screen, and for one of our wider shots, it looks totally realistic. Later, we'll do other close-up shots of the screen and of the keyboards and really get into the nitty-gritty details of what we see on screen and the nature of that.
So I think probably the next best thing to do, you guys, is do you have any questions? We'll happily answer any questions about the show, but if you ask for spoilers, we can't give them.
So I worked as an assistant on a different USA show called Rush, and that got canceled after a season, and I was looking for my next gig, and I happened to know the executives and the assistants over at USA Network, and one of the executives there named Jake Castiglione put me in touch with Sam, who had just written his pilot based off of his feature called Mr.ROBOT, and it was about a hacker, and Jake knew about my past career in cybersecurity. So he thought, like, hey, Kor, this would be perfect for you. I want you to read the pilot, and I want you to meet Sam. So I read the pilot, loved it, and then I meet with Sam, and we hit it off right away. And similar to what Marc and I just said earlier, we connected initially on our mutual disdain for how hacking had been portrayed in film and television up to that point. And we wanted to do it in a realistic way, and we wanted to nail the authenticity. And him knowing that I could contribute much more to the show than just being an assistant really put a smile on his face. So he kind of put me in charge as like the consultant for season 1. And it just kind of grew from there. And as more and more people discovered the show, and the InfoSec community discovered how accurate the show was, and we started getting fans, and it was the first show that hackers really signed off on and said, you know what, this is pretty legit. Like they know their stuff. Word started to spread, and they allowed me to grow the team, and I could put Marc on the team, and we have 4 other consultants on the team, some of which were at our panel yesterday. And so now we have this crew that's purely dedicated to the realistic portrayal of the tech that you see on screen. And I was lucky enough to be promoted to staff writer and as technology producer of the show.
So you're in LA?
I'm in LA.
Okay, with all the writers. And how often do you come? The other guys, do you go to LA?
So some of them go to the site in New York, but most of us actually work virtually. Okay. So we have a virtual brainstorming session, and then individuals will take lead on certain hacks because of our skill set. And it's a really diverse team. We've got a couple of ex-FBI agents, we've got cybersecurity professionals, we've got hackers, and so everyone brings their own little kind of take to it. And it leads to some really, really cool brainstorming sessions. Like, you'll see where the show is right now. They're talking about hacking the FBI. And we brainstormed about that for weeks and sat there, and I was talking to the FBI guys, and they were saying, no, that's not realistic, that's not how these things are set up. And well, I know so much about hacking the FBI now. It's not necessarily a good thing.
And so they know everything about you.
The result was, I was at a special FBI event on Wednesday, and one of the agents drove me to the event. This is an active FBI guy, and he's saying, you know, I've been looking at the detail and the stuff we're doing. I looked at the top secret reports you guys showed and the stuff you're talking about, and I was actually really shocked at how realistic what you're doing is. And for me, that was like, I know we're doing it right now.
So the question is, do we ever worry about portraying something that's so realistic that it poses a threat to society if someone were to take that information and recreate it for malicious purposes? I try and stay, and I know my team feels this way too, we try and stay as authentic as possible. And just the nature of creating a television show, you are limited by time. And we can't show every single step of the hack. So I do believe that the steps that we do show don't give you enough information to go home and take down an entire corporation. You need to do a little bit more groundwork and research, and there are a lot of other factors involved. But what we do try and focus on are the main steps. We do want to be able to tell the story visually and make it so anyone who has the technical knowledge can recognize the tools, the commands that they see on screen, and get the gist of what we're doing without sitting there for 5 hours showing you every single step, you know?
And for me personally, when you guys making hacks, it's always front of mind for me. I've got 3 daughters, and a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and I'm always kind of, they are like amazing sponges. They learn everything. And my 14-year-old, when she started watching the show, came up and said, "Dad, I want you to teach me how to be a hacker." And I'm like, oh boy. I want to give them access to information at the same time. I don't want to get into trouble. So I'm cautious. I make sure that everything I do is 100% spot on. But I also know that things like the exploits we're selecting, they're current, valid exploits, but they're going to be about 6 months behind the curve. They're not ODAs. And that means the kind of targets we're talking about here will already be patched against us. So it's a realistic thing, but anyone who copies it is not going to have PTSD. I might.
The question is there a way that we can do more to engage females into and immerse them into this world? And I think that that's something that is very much on the mind of the writers and the producers and the technical team of this show. The hacking group of F Society was designed to be a very diverse collective. And some of the most talented hackers in that group are girls. And I don't know how many of you are keeping up with season 2, but in season 2, we spend a lot more time developing these other characters, and it's not solely from Elliot's perspective anymore. And we are really spending more time with Darlene, we're spending more time with Dom, the cyber agent, and Trenton. And it's my hope that the show serves as an inspiration for girls everywhere to see this on screen and be like, hey, no, I can do that too. Darlene can do it, I can do that too. That's my hope.
And I think to get the nut of your question, we are doing exactly what needs to be done. And that is to show that we can have a great show that is super diverse. And it's diverse in a way that works. So these aren't kind of nods towards minorities to say, hey, we've got someone of that color, or we've got someone female, and that's it, box of tips. No, these are major characters in it. And their strengths and weaknesses are used to build the story and to reinforce the other characters in the show. And so it really works. And we hope that this is going to set a benchmark. It's really going to send a message to other shows. That's the main reason I'm involved in this, because I want to set a benchmark from a hacking perspective. I want shows to realize they can do real stuff without it being boring or without it being super fake and simulated. And the same goes for diversity. Diversity can be used to make a great show, and not as just a ticket box.
One other thing I'll say about setting a benchmark, it is my hope that other shows and films take notice and kind of rise up to the expectations that I believe Mr. Robot is setting right now. But in order to do that, they are going to have to put as much work and effort into building a team like I have on Mr. Robot, and really put in the care and the research, and have someone on set, have a whole team dedicated to brainstorming these ideas. Because otherwise, it's not going to happen. And I know that it's not really on the radar of a lot of producers right now. And hopefully, the success of Mr. Robot is changing. Thank you guys so much.